Okay, so today we're going to start off with lesson 1. We'll be looking at interpreting a multiplication equation as a comparison. So we're going to label the place value charts, fill in the blanks to make the following equations true, and we're going to draw number disks in the place value chart to show how we got our answer using arrows to show any bundling. So for our first one here, we have 10 times 3 ones. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to label our place value chart. We have thousands, hundreds, tens, ones. Okay, so we have 3 ones. Okay, so we're going to draw 3 number disks. Okay, and we're multiplying each of those times 10. So we're going to make 10. Okay, so now we're going to have 3 columns of 10. Okay, so we've taken our 3 ones and multiplied each of them times 10. So now we need to make any bundling. So what we're going to do is we're going to circle groups of 10. Okay, because 10 ones can then be turned into 1 10. And we do that for our next one, and then for our last one. Okay, so as you can see, there are 3 ones multiplied times 10 and then bundled up create 3 tens. Okay, so after we multiplied our 3 ones, we ended up with 30 ones because we have 30 circles over here. Okay, and then when we bundled up our groups of 10, we ended up with 3 tens. Okay, so 10 times 3 ones is 30 ones, because 10 times 3 is 30, and 30 ones can then be converted into 3 tens. So let's do a couple more examples. Okay, so let's label our place value chart. Okay, now this time we're starting off with 2 tens. So we're going to draw 2 number disks for our tens. Okay, now we're going to multiply each of those times 10. Okay, so we have 2 columns of 10. So now in our tens place, because 10 times 2 is 20, now we have 20 tens. Okay, and when we go to bundle up our groups of 10, we now have 2 hundreds. Okay, so 10 times 2 tens is 20 tens, which then equals 2 hundreds. Okay, and then our next one. Okay, so now this time we have 4 hundreds. Okay, so we're going to draw 4 hundreds, and we're going to multiply times 10. Okay, so now in our hundreds place, because we did 4 times 10, we now have 40 hundreds. Okay, but we need to bundle up our groups of 10. Okay, bring those over. To create our 4 thousands. So you can see now that 4 hundreds times 10 gets us 40 hundreds, which then gets bundled up to create 4 thousands. Okay? Alright, so moving on to number 2, we're going to complete the following statements using our knowledge of place value. So we have to kind of do a little thinking now without our place value chart. So 10 times as many as 1 10 is 10 tens. 10 times 1 is 10. Okay, so now we have to think 10 times as many as blank tens is 30 tens, or blank hundreds. So let's just ignore the last part and let's just focus on the first part. So 10 times as many as blank is 30. So we need to think 10 times what is 30, okay, which we know is 3. So 10 times 3 tens is 30 tens, and we know from our place value chart up top, 30 tens can then become 300s, just like our 20 tens became 200s. Okay, so next we have blank as 900s is 9,000. So if we're going from the hundreds place to the thousands place, what we're doing is we're multiplying by 10. So we're going to say 10 times as many. Okay, and then finally letter D, blank thousands is the same as 20 hundreds. Okay, so we're going kind of in the opposite direction now. So we're going to take our 20 hundreds and convert them into thousands, okay, which we then know is 2,000s. Just like up here where our 40 hundreds is 4,000s, 20 hundreds is 2,000s. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use pictures, numbers, or words to explain how we got our answer in part D. Okay, so if we think about a quick place value chart, okay, what we're doing is we're taking our 20 hundreds, okay, we're taking the 20 hundreds that we have here and then bundling them up into thousands. Okay, so we can see now that our 20 hundreds becomes 2,000s. Okay, so I can group 20 hundreds into two groups of 10 hundreds. Okay. Each group of 10 hundreds can be bundled to make 1,000. Okay, so we end up with 2,000s. Okay, alright, so moving on to our next page, we have a couple of quick word problems. So number 3 says, Matthew has 30 stamps in his collection. His father has 10 times as many stamps as Matthew. How many stamps does Matthew's father have? Use numbers or words to explain how you got your answer. Okay, so anytime we use word problems, we always want to make sure we go back and underline key words and phrases before we start to solve it. So we know Matthew has 30. His father has 10 times as many. We need to know how many stamps Matthew's father has. So again, we're going to think about our place value chart. We're going to set this up. Okay, so now Matthew has 30 stamps, so we're going to draw 3 tens for our 30. So now we need to think his father has 10 times as many, which means Matthew's father has more, 10 times more. So we're going to take each of our 3 tens and multiply them by 10. Okay, so now we can see that we have 30 tens. Okay, so now when we do our bundling, we can make 3 groups of 10, bundle them up to create 300s. So 10 times as many as 30, or 3 tens, is 30 tens, or 300s. Okay, so basically what we did is 10 times 3 tens, which got us our 30 tens. Okay, we made our bundles and ended with 300s. Okay, so Matthew's father has 300 stamps. Okay. All right, moving on to number 4 here. We have Jane saved $800. Her sister has 10 times as much money. How much money does Jane's sister have? Okay, so we're going to use numbers or words to explain. So Jane saved $800. Her sister has 10 times as much. So we have to think in our head that that means that she has more money. So set up our place value chart. Okay, so Jane has 800s. Okay, so there's our 800s, okay? 10 times as many, so now we're going to multiply that times 10. We have to draw our circles pretty small. Okay, a lot of circles in there. Okay, so what we have now is 10 times as many as 800, or 800s, is 80 hundreds. Okay, so we just did 10 times 800. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our bundles. Okay, and bring them over. Okay, and now we can see that we now have 8,000s. Okay, so what we did is 10 times 800s, which got us our 80 hundreds, and then gets bundled to create 8,000s. Okay, so now we always have our answer statement. So Jane's sister has $8,000. Okay, so now we'll move on to number 5. We're going to fill in the blanks. Well, 2 times as much as 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 times as much as 4 is 40. 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, 500 is 10 times as much as 50. This one's going in reverse. So you have to think of 500 equals 10 times what? In this case, it would be 50. Okay, so next we have 6,000 is 10 times as many as 600, because we have that extra 0 at the end. Okay, finally our last one. Okay, Sarah is 9 years old. Her grandfather is 90 years old. Sarah's grandfather is how many times as old as Sarah? Well, we can think 10 times as many as 9 ones is 9 tens. Okay, so we are doing 10 times 9 ones to get 9 tens. So that means that Sarah's grandfather is 10 times as old as Sarah.